Mr. Bennett, thanks for having us in your office. You are the chairman of the Jewish Home political party. You're also the Minister of Education and Diaspora Affairs, and you are also part of Israel's security cabinet. As you know, last night we commemorated the death of former Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. And what type of message would you like to send to the nation now that everybody is, thinking about what the next move is towards peace?
Well, Israel is in one of the most complicated and perhaps dangerous regions in the world. We're surrounded in the north, in the east, and the south by radical Islamists that don't want us here. The key for Israel's very promising future is to be very strong, to stay strong, not to give up land, and to build a very promising country, high-tech and our values, the way we treat our minorities, and have a strong Jewish identity. That's the secret for Israel's ongoing success.
This government coalition has been in office for about 7 months now, and the security situation has deteriorated significantly to the point where people are scared to even go out on the streets. What would you say to critics who don't think that the government has an effective plan to deal with the situation right now?
We've had, since the inception of Zionism, we've had about 40 rounds of violence with the Arabs. This is another round. We always persevere, and we will persevere this time as well. We have to stand strong, and I think we have effected several new measures to be very strong and tough on terrorists, and we're going to win.
Can you talk to me about those measures?
Well, as member of the Security Cabinet, obviously I can't outline all the measures, but I can say we've been very, very tough on the sources of the terror, on the sources of incitement. What basically is going on, there's a massive incitement on the Palestinian side, where effectively they're saying that we have to kick the Jews out, etc. And we have to fight back and understand that the Palestinian Authority no longer is a friend. It's become a foe. Once we realize that, I think the rest will fall in place.
You've said that Abu Mazen has, incited violence against Israel and is not a contender for peace. What is the alternative?
Well, the alternative is for Israel to apply Israeli law on the Israeli-controlled areas in Judea and Samaria, what's called Area C, and not depend or think that we should depend on Abu Mazen for our security. I will never trust anyone, let alone the Arab, as a defender of Israel. That's not going to happen. We have to defend ourselves, and once we understand that, and we're very strong, while they have autonomy and they can govern themselves, that's the right approach for Israel's security and for their security as well.
Many people have suggested that the current wave of violence is in effect a third intifada. Where do you think this terrorism is coming from? What has changed in Israel that is making the situation so volatile right now?
It's coming from incitement, stemming from Abu Mazen, stemming from the Islamist movement. And it's part and parcel of the regional and global jihad that's going on. I mean, you can't divorce what's going on in Israel from what's going on Israel's borders, right? If you have ISIS and Hezbollah and Hamas all around talking about destroying Israel, it does send some waves into Judea and Samaria. And this is a global war between radical Islam and the free world. And we happen to be at the forefront, and we will win.
So what do you say to the accusations that Israel has triggered this violence by pushing more of a Jewish presence on the Temple Mount?
That's nonsense. The Temple Mount is the holiest place in the world for Jews, has been for roughly 3,000 plus years. We respect everyone's right to go up and visit Temple Mount, and certainly the Muslim right to pray there. That's nonsense. This has been a deliberate round of violence incited by Abu Mazen, by the Islamic movement, and by other Palestinians.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has asked members of the Knesset and ministers to stay off the Temple Mount right now. Will you be abiding by this order?
Look, generally I don't visit Temple Mount. I've not visited except as a kid once, but it's not something that I feel that I should be doing. And we have to be very responsible these days. I'm part of a government, and we need to He said that no Arab or Jewish MK at this time, should be visiting Temple Mount. We can abide to that.
You've said in the past that you do not support a two-state solution. So what is your idea for a solution to the conflict?
I believe that we should not give up one piece of land or 1 centimeter of land, because every time we've done it, it turned into a radical Islamic base. We did it in Gaza. I'll remind you, we pulled out of Gaza to the very last centimeter. We expelled 8,000 Jews living there. We took out all the soldiers and we handed it over to the Palestinians and gave it to them. And they turned it into a missile launch pad for terror against Israel. We did the same thing in Lebanon. We did the same thing in Judea and Samaria during the Oslo Accords. We handed it over to Arafat, and he killed over 1,000 Israelis. He murdered over 1,000 Israelis in terror attacks. When you give land to them, they turn it into a radical Islam terror post. We're not going to do that anymore. And you know what else? Israel is our land. We don't have another homeland. We only have Israel. So the approach of giving up land is over. My approach is different. I don't want to govern the 1.8 million Arabs in Judea and Samaria, while at the same time we need to control the Israeli controlled areas in Judea and Samaria. So I want to apply Israeli law in places like Ariel, Gush Etzion, Ofra, Eli, all the places where Jews are living. The rest will become Palestinian autonomy, where they can govern themselves, they vote for themselves, they pay themselves taxes, they educate themselves. I have no desire for that. And that's the best way to manage this ongoing problem.
How can you implement this one-state solution?
No, I don't call this a one-state solution. I call this Israel and Palestinian autonomy side by side, where they govern themselves, we govern us, but we cannot allow another Arab state between us and the Jordan Valley. That would be disastrous for Israel. We've seen that already. We've seen it many times. And this is the best approach that exists today. I think it's the only feasible approach on the table. It can be done unilaterally. We don't need cooperation in order to allow them to form their own autonomy and to apply our law on Israeli-controlled areas. We did it in the Golan Heights. We did it in Jerusalem. Now it's time to do it in the Israeli-controlled areas in Judea and Samaria.
Can you just explain a little bit more about what the status of the Palestinians living in areas A and B would be? You said it's an autonomous state, but what does that mean in terms of their relation to Israel? Are they citizens? Are they...
No, the Palestinians in areas A and B would be belong to the Palestinian Authority, to the Palestinian autonomy. They would vote for that parliament, as they do today. They would pay their own taxes, not to Israel, as they do today. Okay, they basically govern themselves. What they don't have is an army. They don't have the right of return. And that's a profound difference. We cannot allow others to defend us or hand them over weapons to hurt us. It's not going to happen. And you know, after so many years of trying the same bad approach of a Palestinian state and seeing what's going on in the Islamic world, all around the Islam, the Arab states are disintegrating into tribes, right? Look at Syria, okay? Look all around, look at Iraq. So for someone to come from the West and think that if you inject an artificial new Arab Muslim state, it somehow will work, that's ridiculous. We have to be very realistic about it. And I think the only country that has proven that it can govern in a democratic and open way, including a minority of over 1.5 million Arabs, is Israel. The only Arabs that enjoy full equal rights in the entire Arab world are the Israeli Arabs that enjoy a high quality of life, good education. As education minister, they're my kids. I take care of them as much as I take care of the Jewish kids in Israel. I'm talking about Israel, not the areas in the PA. So something's working, don't break it.
Prime Minister Netanyahu is considering revoking the residency of East Jerusalemites. What do you say to this move?
I'm not familiar with it. I've never heard of it. I just read in the media. I'm not sure there's any basis for this particular idea.
So Israel's Ministerial Committee has recently approved a new curriculum that would promote more Arab education in Israeli lesson plans, and you've supported this bill. How do you think that increasing knowledge of Arab culture is going to help promote peace in Israel?
Well, I'm pushing two things for Arabs, Israeli Arabs, to learn Hebrew from kindergarten. That's already happening now as we speak. Since Israel's foundation, they only started learning Hebrew in third grade. Now they're starting in kindergarten. That's amazing. They'll give them more jobs. It'll give them an option to be part and parcel of Israeli society. But we also need to do this, the other side. We need Israelis, Jewish Israelis, to learn Arabic. I studied Arabic. And I think part of coexistence and tolerance is knowing each other's cultures. So this is something that I'm going to promote. It depends on budgets, of course, but it's certainly a goal of mine.
And I heard that there was a new high-tech kindergarten that actually opened this month. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's a very cool kindergarten. It's in Beersheba, so I can't send my own kids there, but the kids are learning from a very, very young age, from kindergarten age, science at very advanced levels, and getting them to be curious. You know, I have a now famous goal of doubling the number of highest grade mathematicians in the Israeli system, from 8,500 to 18,000 within 4 years. This is a very ambitious goal. I've learned that you have to get kids to want to learn math and science and technology. You have to be curious about it. If we really, you can't force it on them. So part of it is getting their curiosity going already in kindergarten.
What is Israel going to look like in 20 years from now?
I'm very optimistic about Israel. Israel will continue to be in a very problematic area, but I think Israel should be and can be a lighthouse in terms of the way it treats its minorities. We talked about it. The way it exports water technologies, energy technologies, security technologies, food and agriculture. Israel, I see it as this centerpiece of the connection to the Jewish people. I think Israel is not only the state of the people who live in Israel, it's also the state of all the Jews wherever they live, whether in North America or in Europe or whatever. They all have a part of Israel. So I'm very optimistic that we can be a country that does tikkun olam, that helps fix the world.
What would you have to say to Jewish diaspora who are considering making aliyah but are fearful of the current terror in Israel?
You know that the risk of getting hurt by terror is way, way lower than high cholesterol from hamburgers or just traffic accidents. We've had this problem for about 120 years. We have a flourishing economy, the second best high-tech economy in the world after Silicon Valley. Israel is a wonderful place to live, and most importantly, Israel is our home. It's our Jewish home. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Bennett.